Palmyra itself was prosperous. A stop on the Silk Road to the east, traded back and forth between Rome and the Parthian Empire for centuries, and generally content with either as long as no one was laying siege to the city. Once past the city, the land was drier, shading into desert hillside. Smaller tracks led through dusty scree upward from the stone-paved Roman road. One of the Palmyra patrol's functions was to discourage the bandits that preyed on travellers along the border. Goods from the east were a mainstay of Palmyra's trade, and a sore temptation to the thieves of the hills. Tribune Balbinus signalled to the standard-bearers to turn the column southeast onto an unpaved track, and the centurion beside Postumus swore, ducking out of line to trot beside the tribune's horse. He spoke too softly to be heard, but Postumus was reasonably sure he knew what he was saying. This was too close to the border, and they hadn't enough men. Balbinus shook his head. "That's what we're here for, isn't it? All right, then. Column right." They swung onto the track into the hills, dust rising from nailed sandals that slipped a bit in the scree. The centurion slid back into line, his mouth grim. "He's likely to get more than bandits, the fool," he said, and then snapped his mouth shut. Criticizing a senior officer, no matter how misguided, was never a good idea. Postumus found that he was wide awake now. He had not managed to get out from under the Optio's eye without bringing a pilum along to carry, and was beginning to think better of his objections. He could feel the tension in the officers next to him, and feel it run along the column. They were moving farther up the track, farther into hills that hid their line of sight, farther toward the Parthian border with its own patrols, and maybe no more sense than the tribune had. The chink and rattle of their own armour blocked the sounds of the horsemen until they were on them. At least 100 Parthian cataphracts, men and horses, both plated with coats of scale, and 50 more horse archers poured over the ridge above them. "Form up!" The patrol scrambled to form battle order, the signifiers at the front with their centurions, the tribune's horse dancing under him as he shouted orders. The cataphracts made the first charge, with their mounted archers on the wings. The Roman front ranks locked their shields together, Postumus with them, and hurled a simultaneous flight of pilums, the deadly spears whose iron heads went halfway down their length. The pilum tip was tempered, but the mid-length of the iron head was not, so that it bent as it pierced its target, heavy enough to drag a man from his horse if it lodged in his shield. The Ulpia Dacorum sentries formed up with a shield wall on 3 sides and backed up slowly as the leading cataphracts went down under the rain of iron. Only the hillside terrain kept them from being completely surrounded. Loose horses began to careen through the Parthian ranks, and the cataphracts struggled to close up again. Postumus, fighting desperately with a dismounted Parthian commander, thought that the Parthians might have been surprised as well. The cataphract had lost his spear along with his horse and swung a vicious straight-bladed sword at him. Postumus blocked it with his shield and closed to slide his own short sword under the man's guard, trying to pierce the coat of plates. The cataphract went down, and another took his place as a loose horse galloped by them, streaming blood. It leaped over the wounded man and collided with the tribune's mount. Both horses went down. Postumus, fighting frantically in the front line, could only take note from the corner of his eye before another cataphract, this one mounted, was on him. Postumus ran his sword into the horse's belly, the only vulnerable place, and stumbled back as it went down too. The cataphracts were trying to regroup, and the horse archers on their wings were keeping their enemy pinned down as much as possible while they did so. In a momentary breathing space, he saw Tribune Balbinus writhing under the weight of a downed Parthian horse and all its armour. As Postumus watched, he went still. "Help me!" Postumus grabbed an auxiliary man by his chain-mailed shoulder. He stumbled toward the tribune with the infantryman.